Goku's son Goten, the son of the protagonist of the show that really never had limelight throughout the entire Dragon Ball series. And in this video today, Geekdom and I are going to be discussing a lot of the things about Goten that really never happened and a lot of our thoughts on his potential and everything else. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into this video. Is Geekdom. When it comes to Goku's second son Goten, what do you actually think about his usage, bro?
He was pretty much brought in to be the replacement Goku as far as like having a kid in the series as a prevalent character, because Goku had died. The series shifted to being about Gohan. They wanted to have a new kind of shonen kid hero to, represent the children. Just like why Goku became a kid in GT. That's what Goten is. I think the issue with Goten is they never really developed his character beyond just the Buu arc. He's kind of a humble kid, kind of like Goku. Also, Trunks, Kid Trunks, actually did get some development in the Trunks arc, and Goten was nowhere to be seen. It was interesting how they just kind of forgot about him. So, Goten is just kind of there. He's just a kid. And, for better or for worse, no matter how much you like GT, that's irrelevant. You can't deny that GT making Goten like a, what do you call it?
A ladies' man?
A ladies' man is actually development and makes him different from the other characters. And that's, like it or not, GT handled developing Goten better than the series did. Than Super, I would say, even.
Right, that's a really good point. And, to kind of talk a little bit more about it, like, obviously, for shonen mangas, like, obviously you want to have a child protagonist, which is why they don't make Goten and Trunks age, even though, they should look similar to what Trunks look like in the history of Trunks. But
well, that's a whole other story.
Yeah, and that's a whole conversation. Like, the fact of the matter is, guys, is that with the approximation of how much time has actually passed in Super right now, they are literally, if you go by the manga, they are literally like 1 to 2 years respectively younger than what Gohan was when he went to high school. That's kind of how ridiculous they've kind of held back their aging in the series. But when you look at Goten and his ability to turn Super Saiyan so fast, because Toriyama needed him to go Super Saiyan so fast.
Pretty much.
You look at how strong he was at his age. And
he has the most potential.
And you also look at the fact that Goten didn't go through a lot of the life experiences that Gohan went through. So in essence, Goten could be significantly stronger than Gohan, but he didn't have to fight Cell. He didn't have to fight Frieza. He didn't have to fight the Ginyu Force. He didn't have to fight Vegeta. And all of those things kind of made his life easier, because at the end of the day, similar to Gohan in A Peaceful Time, because Goku and Vegeta and all of these stronger guys are around, Goten really doesn't have motivation to train. What do you think about his potential?
He could be the strongest guy, point blank, him and Trunks, him and Kid Trunks. But like you said, it's about nurture versus nature. Future Trunks showed off that Super Saiyajin Ikari or Super Saiyan Rage, but because both of their lives are not as difficult. I don't know what the word is because of that.
They diverged so differently.
Yeah, as a result of that, they never hit their maximum potential. Neither one of them did, and I don't think they ever will. And I'm not even going to count GT on this one. I mean, just in Super, they're not even focused on anymore. It's almost like they're just kids and that's it. But you are on point about their aging being a screw-up, because they should look older than they actually are, especially Trunks. And again, it goes back to that DNA thing. Like, what could have happened there? And it's just another plot hole, really. I mean, that's really what it is. There's no denying it.
In Dragon Ball Super's case, however, he has had one arc in which he did have somewhat of an impact on the plot, and that would have been the Potafu arc with Trunks. What do you think about his usage throughout that little mini arc?
I mean, but again, though, Trunks is the one that wanted to go in the truck and play and all that. He's still Trunks' best friend, man. It's the same thing. Like, he got no real development. He got a little bit of spotlight, but they always do that with him. He just doesn't have a character. Like, his character is, I'm a little kid.
That looks like Goku.
That looks like Goku. I want to play with toys and play with Trunks, and that's it. That's his character. He's not developed at all like Gohan is, and that's all we know about him. That's all we know. He's a good guy. Like, Goten is a genuine, good guy, it seems, but it's almost like he doesn't understand the world around him and how fucked up it is. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But to talk more so about Chi-Chi now, one interesting thing I've noticed about Goten is that it kind of seems like the story has flipped when it pertains to how he's supposed to be raised, because if you look at more so in Dragon Ball Z specifically, You know, Goten was kind of raised to be a fighter because Goku died, and Gohan himself said, oh, mom's been different ever since dad died. But Super's kind of twisting the mold in a way where now that Goku's back, Chi-Chi's like, okay, well, I can make my second son a scholar again. But then if you look at GT, then Goten doesn't seem like a scholar. So in essence, what do you think about the raising of Goten?
What really ended up happening was Goku died, and Piccolo took Gohan and was like, listen, we need you to fight. Like, this is now a life or death situation. Piccolo gave no fucks about Chi-Chi's opinion about her goals for the boy.
He took his ass.
He did. He just took him. And as the series progressed, you had bigger and more serious threats like Frieza, like, of course, the artificial humans, the androids, you know, and Gohan had to continue to get stronger because they knew he had that latent power. With Goten, it's almost because they had the 7 years of peace. Gohan was starting to fight when he was 4. You know, from 4 years old and on, Goten had those 3 extra years where he didn't really fight. So it's almost like Chi-Chi was able to kind of drive it more home with him. But because Goten has no character, which again, this is a flaw of his, he doesn't really have much of a character. We never hear his opinions on this. We don't know if he wants to be a scholar, if he wants to be a fighter. We never hear it. He is totally different from Gohan because Gohan was thrust into combat young, and we saw him develop. We saw him kind of be afraid at first, and then, of course, get braver and braver and braver as the series progressed. Whereas with Goten, the only adversity he was met with was, I mean, his dad was already dead when he was born, so that's already bad. He didn't have to deal with his dad dying necessarily, but he had to deal with the Majin Buu thing. And during that entire fight, there's not a single moment in that entire fight where Goten or Trunks or Gotenks even is concerned. Like, the whole fight, they're goofing off, they're playing around. So where's the adversity here? Like, there's no tension with these two characters. And I think it was more so Toriyama wanting to kind of lighten the tone a bit and make it more comedic, which I totally understand. But you never really saw Goten go through even a quarter of what Gohan went through. And that's why I think Gohan's a more interesting character. Even though he became a scholar at the end of the day, we really don't know much about Goten. And that's interesting to me because if you watch the end of Z, last 3 episodes, it's like Goku forces Goten to fight him because it's his son. Like, but Goten doesn't even care. He just wants to get laid, you know, which is fine. But I mean, it's like he doesn't really have a character, and that's why I think that Gohan has way bigger fan base because Gohan actually has a story, you know.
The only thing I can really say to close this video out about Goten is that when it comes to personality, it does seem like Goten is a lot more courageous than what Gohan was at an earlier age, because looking
he seems also, but he also seems more naive too,
right?
In some ways,
because like Goten, he wasn't as scared of things as Gohan was, but at the same time, he was way more goofy because of Trunks' influence and because of the fact that they obviously grew up a very pampered, happy lifestyle. He never really had to go through the hardships and having his friends being killed in front of his face. Is that when Goten and Trunks were fighting against Buu, I mean, Buu literally turned his mother into an egg and squished her, and then Goten still screwed around anyways. He literally saw his mother die right in front of him, and then he still continued to goof off with Trunks.
He's kind of a dumbass in some ways, to be honest, right?
Right.
He's not very relatable as a character, whereas Gohan is.
Right, and to give Goten some credit, if you remember when they went into the Room of Spirit and Time Hyperbolic Time Chamber, Goten went in there and he was very serious. Like, you seemed like he was determined. So it's like, yeah, way to go, Goten. But then right after, it's like, hey, Trunks, let's screw around. And Trunks is always going to be like the alpha in that, you know, relationship where he's kind of like his just tag buddy.
One thing I will say also about Gohan is that there have been times when Gohan has shown bravery. Like, it wasn't just that he was forced. He initially was, but he was the one that wanted to go to Namek. He was the one that wanted to fight Cell. Like, he has shown bravery. Goten has too, but I feel like Goten's bravery is more like naive, whereas Gohan's bravery is like, okay, I know this is a bad situation, but I have to do what I can. And that's the difference. I think Goten's just like kind of a dumb kid. I hate to say that, but that's what he is.
You know, obviously we've made a lot of observations about Goten over the years, and the fact of the matter is nobody really cares about him. And share your thoughts in the comment section below as to what do you think about Goku's forgotten son. So with everything else said, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys. And Geekdom, do you have any final words?
I hope that we see Goten grow up soon and go out on some dates, because that would be comedic.